Look at which coaches are going to be on the hot seat. And we're going to start with Mike Norvell. This is a guy who was on the doorstep of college football playoff. Many argue that he ended up getting screwed, but then the entire team sat out and they got blown out from Georgia. The team's not been the same since. And when you look at what he's did, it almost looks like a bell curve, which is not what you're looking for when you're looking for coaching development. He started off by taking a Florida State team that wasn't all that talented and did not all that talented things with them, but he built them at a very high level. You can thank Jordan Travis a lot for that. But since he's been gone, Florida State's been really bad. And they are not in a great conference right now. The ACC is not one of the most competitive conferences in college football. You have Miami, but Clemson's on the down. Virginia Tech's on the down. SMU has been fine, but SMU should not necessarily be one of the second best teams in the conference year in, year out. Florida State needs to be better. They haven't been. And if they don't get better quickly, I think Mike Norvell's out the door. Things that are saving him is a massive buyout over his head. And also, who would Florida State go get? I think there's some good guys at the G6 ranks in terms of head coaches that like Midwestern schools can go out and get. And we'll talk about one of them here in a second, but not really for Florida State. I don't know who would take his job if he ends up going, but Mike Norvell is certainly on the hot seat. I could very easily see him getting fired this year. Next, we're talking Luke Fickell. This is another guy who he had honestly a kind of shocking end of the season a year ago, but 5-7 and 4-8 is not good enough. And when he took the job over at Wisconsin fired a guy because he basically couldn't bring them to the next level. And you've seen this happen time and time again in college football. Nebraska's a prime example. When they fired Bo Pelini, grass is now greener on the other side. It's not been green for Luke Fickell. This guy was a great coach at Cincinnati. I don't know what happened at Wisconsin, but it's not been good. But in good news, their schedule is really easy this year. They are a team that I think could be in the below half of the Big Ten talent-wise or power rankings-wise, and end up being a team that probably goes 7-5 or 8-4. The bad news for Luke Fickell, there's two really good coaches in the Mountain West that I think are perfect candidates for this Wisconsin job. Perfect candidates. And number one, that's going to be Jason Eck. The rebuilding job that he's did at New Mexico is elite. And I think he's, first of all, played at Wisconsin. Second of all, Wisconsin through and through. And he's a guy who I don't think Wisconsin could turn down, and I think they'd rather have him tomorrow if that option was given. The problem is there's like $34 million sitting on Luke Fickell's head to tell him to be done being a coach, which is really hard for a program like Wisconsin. It's really hard for any program. Wisconsin could bounce back this year. Luke Fickell could win 8-9 games, and maybe Wisconsin's even on the doorstep of a Big Ten title with how easy that schedule is. But if things don't go good, there's good options. And the other good option was Tim Polasek from NDSU. I think he makes tons of sense as well. Once again, a Wisconsin guy through and through. He's coached in the Big Ten at somewhere like Iowa. He's been a position coach. It would make tons of sense for him to take that next step, especially if NDSU has a year that some people think they'll have, and we will once again get to that later. The third coach that I have at least kind of on the hot seat, and this one I'd say is the biggest stretch, and it's Lincoln Riley. At some point, he's got to take the next step. When you look at what he did at Oklahoma and what USC bought when they took him from Oklahoma, they took a coach that was a perennial college football playoff contender, borderline, should have won a couple playoff games in there. He's came to USC, it's been a failure. It's been a failure through 4 years. 11-3 was fine. 8-5 with a returning Heisman winner is not good enough. 7-6 is not good enough. 9-4 is fine, but when you look at everything they had, you can't do that. It didn't help that they ended up moving to the Big Ten, 2 years into his reign as head coach. The good news for USC, or I guess for Lincoln Riley, I don't know who USC would go with if they end up firing Lincoln Riley. Lincoln Riley has tons of money over his head as well. But when you look at how much they spent this season and went out and got kids in the portal and went out and brought in recruiting classes and retained as much production as they did, you got to feel like a college football playoff berth needs to be in this team's future. And if it's not, I think Lincoln Riley is going to have some question marks over his head. He's went out now for like the fourth time in his career and got that defensive coordinator in Gary Patterson, returning his quarterback. It's do or die right now for USC. It's do or die right now for Lincoln Riley. And bad news for him is he plays the three best teams in the Big Ten. I think he has to go 1-2 against, that is Indiana, that is Ohio State, and that is Oregon. If he doesn't do that, if he wins every game, you can't fire a guy for going 9-3, but there's going to be tough conversation to be had in Southern Cal if Lincoln Riley does not get it together a little bit more. Thank you for watching. If you're new here, subscribe, leave likes, and if you disagree with anything that I said, Go to my TikTok, drop a follow. I'm live on there pretty much every day. Come in there and debate me. See if you can change my opinion.